Hi guys. Today you're gonna be comparing and contrasting the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, and define the First and Second Amendment. Today I won't be here, but everything that you need to do it's already in your work or your classwork tab in Google Classroom. Okay, so for today you're gonna need your week 6 day one notes. Then you're gonna need your teacher absence work one, and then depending on what class you are in, so if, there's the honors and the regulars, which assignment you're gonna get. Okay. So for the warm up, you just have to listen to the video. Okay. So I'm just gonna show you the tabs so you can see what you are expected to do. So if you go here, this I'm gonna post. Okay. So this is not the real assignment because I'm gonna edit the video that I'm recording right now, but it's gonna look exactly the same. So you're gonna have your video, your notes, and then your exit ticket. Okay, so these are the instructions. So view your YouTube video. It's gonna be a little long, but you can pause it as however you need. Okay, so you're gonna pause the video whenever you need, and then while you're watching, remember there's always red squares that you have to fill in. So while you're watching, you're also filling in. Okay, there's vocabulary in there that I'm gonna go over it right now. But if you have time, you can do that as well. So your exit ticket and your vocabulary. Okay, so after you've completed the video, you can go ahead and do your exit ticket for the day. Okay, so your assignment, it's going to be called Teacher Absence Work Day 1. Okay, and so here it is. So you first watch the video, then your notes, and then your exit ticket. Okay, and it's going to be posted like right here. Okay, so you're not going to see this assignment until there's like the sub posts it for you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I'm gonna show you all the videos. Okay, so you can watch them in your own pace if you want, but just in case you guys don't have great internet at home or you're struggling, I'd rather just put all the lesson here with the videos and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is gonna be the feds against the anti-feds, and then the Bill of Rights. Okay, the YouTube link it's also here down here in the notes if you need it. So you can click this or you can click over here, but it's the same thing. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to show you the Bill of Rights, what they are. Okay, so the Bill of Rights are the original 10 amendments of the Constitution. They were included in order to protect the individual rights of people. Okay, so if you remember correctly from your lessons on the grievances against the king and the French and Indian War, you might remember that the king was trying to be a little imposing on the colonists. Okay, so whatever he said, that's what it was going to be done. Okay, and so the colonists didn't like that very much. And so what happened is, whenever the colonies became a country, the United States, they kind of learned from that. Okay, so they learned from the tyranny, what they call tyranny of taxation without representation, and imprisonment of people, and all those rights that the king was violating in the eyes of the colonists. Okay, so they came up with the bills that will protect people. Okay, so they will be in writing. So let me go ahead and open this video for you. Okay, and it's about 3 minutes, so it's not that long. And let me just put the volume a little up.
The first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, also known as the Bill of Rights, were ratified or passed over.
Oh, and by the way, guys, we're only covering the first two today. We're gonna cover this in the next days, okay? But for now, just this is just an introduction, so just start thinking about all the other ones.
Over 200 years ago. But even though they're a bit, well, old, these first 10 amendments are still the most debated and discussed section of our Constitution today. So can you remember what they are? Let's take a look. The First Amendment is the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. This may be the most revered of the amendments. The First Amendment protects our rights to say and write our opinions, worship how we please, assemble together peacefully, and petition our government if we feel the need. The Second Amendment is a right to bear arms. The original intent of the Second Amendment was to protect colonists from the invading British soldiers, but it now guarantees that you have the right to own a gun to defend yourself and your property. The Third Amendment is called the Quartering Amendment. It was written in response to the British occupation and as a result of the colonists having to house or quarter soldiers in their homes during the American Revolution. Because of this amendment, our government can never force us to house soldiers in our home. The Fourth Amendment is the right to search and seizure. The police can't come into our home without a search warrant and take our personal property. Today, many concerns have arisen about our rights to privacy and technology. For example, can the government track your location with your smartphone, or can social media postings such as on Facebook and Twitter be used without a warrant? On to the fifth. It's all about due process. You've probably heard the phrase, "I plead the fifth," in movies or on TV. They're talking about the Fifth Amendment, which says that you don't have to take the witness stand against yourself if you may end up incriminating yourself. Okay, we're halfway done. The Sixth and Seventh Amendments are about how the legal system works. If you're accused of a crime, you have the right to a speedy public trial and an impartial jury. You also have the right to a lawyer and the right to take the stand if you choose. This is important because it will prevent the accused from sitting in prison forever and insists that the prosecution proceed with undue delay. The Seventh says you have the right to a jury trial where 12 impartial peers decide your innocence or guilt in the courtroom as opposed to a judge doing it all alone. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Is a death penalty cruel? Is it unusual? It's hard for Americans to agree on the definitions of cruel and unusual. The Ninth and Tenth Amendments are called the non-rights amendments. They say that the rights not listed in the Bill of Rights are retained by the people in the states. You have other rights that are not listed in the Constitution, and the states have the right to make their own policies, like instituting state taxes. So, now you know all 10 amendments. Can you remember them all? If not, remember this. The Bill of Rights are a crucial piece of American history, and though society has undergone many changes these past 200 and some years, the interpretation and application of these amendments are as vital today as they were when they were written.
Alright guys, so there's a lot going on in that video, but remember, I'm going to go over them right now. I'm only focusing on the first, or actually it's only the first for this lesson, okay? So let me just go ahead, remove this, go back to this one. Okay, so for right now, we're going to focus on the First Amendment and actually also how they got to the Bill of Rights. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to show you the vocabulary for this lesson. So we have the Bill of Rights. They are the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And remember, I also have them in Spanish, just in case you have trouble. There's the Federalists. These people were in favor of having a strong federal government. And so the federal government is like the US government, as like all the US, okay? Then the anti-federalists, they said, nah, we just got a king, and so he was violating our rights, and so you're gonna do the same thing with a big government, okay? So we don't like this. And so what they favor was more the rule in the states, okay, or localized level, okay? Then we have a grievance, and that just means that it's a complaint, okay? So if you remember from your other lessons about how we got to the Declaration of Independence, you can remember the grievances, okay? All right, so next vocabulary, the first one is ratify, okay? And that just means to approve, okay? So the Bill of Rights were not in the Constitution, and they had to ratify them, okay, to put them in there. So then federalism, so it's kind of like these guys over here. These are the Federalists, and they're protecting this principle of government, which is federalism. Okay, so federalism means that it's shared power between the federal government, which is like the big government, and then the state governments. So the U.S. shares power with the Texas government, for example. So one of the examples I can give you about the state governments is schools. Okay, so the national government, they don't have authority over the education of students, okay? That relies on the states. Each state decides their curriculum, okay? And then we have separation of powers. This is also another um, how do you call it, a principle in our government. Okay, so our government is not just one guy. uh, what I can say is like Trump, being the president, he doesn't have all the power. He has to share that power with the courts and also with the Congress. Okay, so Congress makes the laws, the president signs the laws, and then once they sign it and they say, okay, that's a good law, then they have to go to the courts, and the courts decide if it's constitutional or not. Okay, you should remember this from your lesson on principle of government. Okay, so why do we actually have the Bill of Rights? So if you remember correctly from your other lessons about the Declaration of Independence and the French and Indian War, you will remember that the king started imposing rules, right? I gave you the example of Miss Pineda, how if one day you come to school and she decides, you know what, all the students that are here in the Saka, now they have to pay a tax. They have to pay $1 every time they go to the gym. And you're going to be like, what? Why is she going to have charges, right? You're not gonna like it, and so you can go to your parents or um, your friends and say, you know what, Miss Pineda, we don't like what you're doing, so we're gonna protest you. Okay, so we can do that in our country, but back then they couldn't do that to the king. He has like absolute power, so he had all the power that he wanted. Okay, so the Declaration of Independence had listed a series of grievances committed by the king, so King George III. Okay, so a number of these grievances address violation by the king of the duties under the English Bill of Rights. So remember, these guys are actually British. They're colonists, so they belong to England, even though they're not in England. But they're gonna go back to this. Okay, so why this is that we have it. Okay, so the Bill of Rights that we have are partially based on several documents. So we have the English Bill of Rights, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and the Magna Carta. Okay, so they're all like the Magna Carta is an old document giving rights to like rich people called like nobles, but it's kind of like they're giving expanding the rights to more and more people. Okay, and then they have the English Bill of Rights, and then the Virginia Declaration of Rights. But basically, all of them list rights that people have, okay, that the government can take away. Okay, so these are the grievances listed in the Declaration of Independence. If you remember from your activity, like maybe 2 3 weeks ago, we were talking about the grievances against the king. Okay, so the king imposed taxes without the consent of the colonists. Okay, so that's kind of like taxation without representation. So in the Constitution, this is what they did. The U.S. Constitution provides that all taxes must be approved by the House of Representatives. So actually, the Senate, they cannot do the taxes, and the president cannot do that. It's only the House, and I think the reason why is because the House, the people in the House of Representatives, they are elected every 2 years. 2 years, okay, and so I guess since they're elected more often, they're kind of like they know what people want, right? So if they're doing things that they're not supposed to, then the people are not going to vote for them anymore. And so that's why the Constitution says, okay, you are the guys that are going to do how we spend our money. Okay, the next one. The king made the military superior to the civil government. So he stationed troops. If you remember from the Boston Tea Party and the Boston Massacre, they were having soldiers just there, okay, occupying the cities. And so what happened is these soldiers are not well paid, okay? So they have to now share jobs that people like in the colonies have. It's kind of like if you think kind of like immigration, where people make the argument that, well, these people that are coming from other countries are taking our jobs. It's kind of the same thing here, but these are all British, but they're still not from there, okay? So they're kind of like outsiders. So in the Constitution, this is what they did. The commander in chief is going to be a civilian, the president. So in our case, Trump is our president. Okay. So the next one, the king kept a large standing army among the colonies. So this is kind of the same thing. So the government, or sorry, the king had the army with weapons, and basically they were kind of suppressing the people in there. So Congress said that they are the ones who determine the size of the army depending on how much money we have. Okay, so if you see like the wars right now, we are funding those wars, but it all depends on how much money they're giving for those wars. And the last one, the king made judges depending on his will. So again, it's kind of like, why are they even there if the king has all the power? It's just they are just giving or ruling what the king wants for other people. It's basically like a hierarchy. So here's the king, and all the judges are just representing him, but he is the power. Okay, so let me go to the next one. So when they were trying to put the Constitution together, okay, so there were people that wanted to put the Bill of Rights. Again, why? Because they're written rights. Okay, so the other people said, nah, it's okay. We don't need to have them in writing. And this guy said, no, we just had a king that just did whatever that he wanted. No, 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 we want him in there. Okay, so members of the Constitutional Convention knew that they could not adopt their own plan. Okay, so they decided that before the Constitution could be law, they have to ratify it. Remember, approve. Okay, so they had like different conventions going on. So I'm gonna play this video, and then after the video, you can go ahead and answer the question.
When you hear the word Constitution, what's the first thing you think of? Is it free speech? The right to bear arms? Or the right to a speedy and public trial? These individual liberties, known as the Bill of Rights, were not part of the original Constitution. Instead, they were added 3 years later. Why, you might ask? In 1787, 39 delegates signed in favor of the Constitution, while 3 others present, George Mason, Edmund Randolph, and Elbridge Gerry, refused because they saw a fatal flaw. They demanded a Bill of Rights. This concern did not stop.
All right, so the Constitution did not have the Bill of Rights at the beginning. Okay, and remember, so Bill of Rights are written laws that protect people. And so at the beginning, they didn't have them in the Constitution, and that's why it's like, oh, no, no, you're not doing this to me, okay? So just keep that in mind.
The Constitution from being sent out for ratification. However, during this time, a quarrel known as the ratification debates began between Federalists and Anti-Federalists. It was argued the Constitution lacked specific limits on government power. In order for some states to ratify, the condition was made that a Bill of Rights had to be added. Following the ratification of the Constitution in 1788, James Madison took on the responsibility of drafting amendments that would protect our individual rights. By 1789, Madison proposed 19 amendments to the House. The House narrowed the number of amendments down to 17. Next, the Senate, with the agreement of the House, narrowed them down to 12. Finally, these 12 were sent on to the states for ratification. 10 of the 12 amendments were quickly ratified, and by December 15, 1791, enough states had ratified to authorize the adding of this list, known as the Bill of Rights, to the Constitution. Today, the Bill of Rights defines the rights and freedoms of the individual and is vital to the republic in which we live. It is a powerful instrument which we the people can use to defend our freedom, not only today, but for generations to come.
All right, guys. So just a short video. So what do you think would happen if we did not have the Bill of Rights? Okay, so again, these guys, the the Federalists said it's, it's in the government. The government is gonna protect you. Okay, but the Anti-Federalists said no, they won't protect you. They're not written. So if it's not written, it's not a right. And so they decided, okay, fine, we'll give you the Bill of Rights. Okay, so those, you know how they said 19 and then they came down to 12 and then 10. Eventually, all the other rights became part of the amendments later on. Okay, so pause the video, write something here. Okay, and then we can continue to the next one. Okay. So once you're written, let me go ahead and show you what these people were for and against. So Federalists against Anti-Federalists. So the Federalists are Alexander Hamilton. This guy is in the, I think it's in the $50 bill. It's one of the bill of like our currency. I think it's the $50 one or the $10 one. I think I don't remember right now. So then John Jay and James Madison. Okay, you don't really have to know all of these for now, but remember for 8th grade you will. So the Federalists, all of this is the Federalists. So these people, they argue that a strong central government. So the central government just means like the power is all like here's the whole country, right? Wait, let me see it right here. So let's say like my whole screen is it's all the country, all right? But all the power is on the black part, which is my phone. That's what they argued. Like that's where all the power should be, okay? Because if we have like all different states, so if you remember from the French and Indian War, all the states wanted to do whatever they wanted. So if Virginia needed troops, then there was another state and they didn't want to send them because they had to spend money. And so these guys said, "Well, that didn't work before. Why it would work now?" And so they said, "Well, we need a strong government because we need to kind of like protect ourselves against other nations. Like if England is here, or France is here, or Mexico is here, or whoever it is, we have to have like a national army ready to defend us." Okay, and also domestic unrest. I don't think I'm gonna cover this on this class or in this course, but basically they learn really fast that if there's no strong government, then it all breaks down. Okay, there's people rebelling everywhere. So there was something called the Whiskey Rebellion, and they followed the example of the leaders. Right? They said, "You are the tyranny, like just like the king." And so they rebelled against the government. And George Washington didn't like that, so he was like a sitting president going and basically putting down that rebellion. Okay. They also argued that in federalism, okay, um, these rights were protected because we have separation of powers. Okay, so that means remember Trump has the power, but he also has to share it with the courts and with Congress. So since we have these, there's no need for the Bill of Rights. Okay, so therefore individual liberties are protected. And then they didn't buy it. Okay, so now these are the anti-federalists. Okay, let me put my camera a little over here. So anti-federalists are kind of like Patrick Henry, George Mason, Thomas Jefferson, the guy that made the Declaration of Independence. Um, they argued, no, 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 no. You're not gonna get away with this. Okay, we just fought a war, we won, we got the tyrant out of us, like the bad guy, the king. So these guys said, you know what? No, the Constitution has major problems. Okay, so they argued that the Constitution would create a central government that would be too strong. Okay, so what they're talking about is it's going to be so strong that they're going to violate our rights. Okay, and then so if you see it today, it's kind of what the other video was saying. Like, can the government go into your Apple phone or your smartphone and check your text messages and your calls? So that's kind of invasion of privacy, right? Well, that's what these guys are kind of referring to. So the government eventually is going to take over all your stuff if you're not careful. And they figured that the leader would have a strong army to collect taxes that people didn't want. Okay, and so they say if there's no Bill of Rights, there's no Constitution. We're not signing it. And so finally, they decided, okay, the Federalists they decided, you know what, fine, we'll include them in there, but go ahead and sign it. Okay, and so they did. They incorporated 10 amendments into the Constitution. So they were publishing like articles, kind of like if you're sharing things in Facebook and YouTube and Twitter or TikTok. They kind of published some essays which defended each of their points. Okay, so you're gonna see these in your exit ticket. But for right now, just get these two in mind, okay? The Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Okay, so the First Amendment. What is the First Amendment, okay? So it says, Congress shall not make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. I can't pronounce that, but basically it's the right of petition. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this video on for you guys. Again, I have a bunch of videos. I like giving you enough information. Okay, and then let me close this one.
Do you like being able to speak your mind
All right, this is the First Amendment, guys.
freely or practice whatever religion you want? People in America take these rights for granted, but these rights only exist because of the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. America is the most free and most prosperous country in the world. But why is America different, and why should we preserve these values? Let's take a look. 1. The First Amendment protects the free exercise of religion. If you are a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist, you can freely practice your beliefs in America. The founders did not believe that religion should be divorced from politics, but they prohibited the government from establishing a national church. You see, liberty can only be kept if Americans remain a good and moral people, and the Constitution promotes the free exercise of religion. It doesn't eliminate religion. 2. Freedom of speech is one of the most important rights in our Constitution. It allows Americans to speak their opinions without fear of punishment or regulation. This means the First Amendment not only protects speech that is widely accepted, it also protects speech that isn't popular. In fact, freedom of speech would be meaningless if it only protected speech that we all liked. 3. I'm sure you've heard all about fake news in the media recently, but what if that fake news was coming directly from your government? This is why we have a free and independent press. The press searches for truth and promotes virtue and unity. The press is also a check on the government and helps to advance American values. 4. The First Amendment also protects the right for people to gather peacefully. It guarantees the right for citizens to petition the government to protest or give an opinion on an issue. So all these people you see marching in the streets with picket signs for God knows what are only able to do so because of the First Amendment. America is a country where citizens can practice their faith and speak and gather freely without government intervention. These freedoms, guaranteed under the First Amendment, are critical, and we must preserve them at any cost. I'm Will Witt. Thank you.
All right, so we don't need to hear the rest, but okay. So there's 5 things that come in the Bill of Rights. So I'm gonna go over each one. So the first part is the freedom of religion. Okay, so from the very beginning, many people came to the United States or the colonies, seeking freedom of their own religious beliefs. So I'm gonna give you some examples. So in the Middle East, you're probably heard about like people being killed because they're Christian or because they're Muslim, or like in North Korea, they cannot even have a religion. If they catch you with a Bible, with a Quran, or whatever your religion is, they kind of like kill you, or like they punish you really badly. Okay, that doesn't happen here in America. Okay, so we have the right, whatever your religion is, hey, it's okay as long as you don't start like killing people and killing animals and things like that. Hey, you're free to do that. Okay, so do you think that the government should have a say in which religion you should participate? Yes or no? Okay, this is your answer. Okay, so pause the video again, write something in there, think a little bit for a second. Should the government really be involved in what I believe or not believe? Okay, so in Cuba, they actually don't let you do that because they think they're going to overthrow the government. So anyway, guys, go ahead, pause the video, and then when you're finished, you can go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so the second part, the freedom of speech. So in many countries, people are afraid to criticize their government. They fear being fined, jailed, or killed. Okay, so in Mexico, journalists, for a long time, if they're trying to say bad things about the government, they would end up dead somewhere. Okay, that also happens in Russia. You can hear it in the news. These journalists mysteriously disappeared or mysteriously had an illness and died. That happens. Okay, so they're kind of afraid of saying that. And if you think about it, I don't know if you heard about WikiLeaks, but that's a debate that we have. Okay, that guy shared some secrets of the government, and so people debate. Okay, is this guy a traitor because he's revealing secrets to other countries, or is he a hero because he's kind of like a whistleblower. That just means a person that is saying the truth, okay, like a journalist. So that's for up for debate, okay. But for the most part, here in America, we have this right, okay. We can, as long as you're not hurting anyone or their careers with intent, like that means like on purpose. Hey, if you think that Trump is crazy and he should be removed from office, hey, that's your thing, okay? If you think Biden is too old and he's also crazy, hey, that's your thing, okay? You can say whatever you want. They're not gonna go after you for that. But you kind of have to be responsible in what you say, also, okay? You can't just like start saying fire in a theater or a school and not get suspended, okay? So if Miss Pineda sorry, if you were in school and you just pull that thing down and there's nothing, you're just causing a hazard. So Ms. Pineda is kind of forced to call your parents because you're provoking like a disturbance in the school. Okay, so you're not being how do you call it? Sincere in what you're saying and doing. Okay. So explain if there should be some restrictions to this, right? So can you just like say whatever you want, or do you think, hey, no, it's okay. Well, you can say whatever you want, but you can't be hurting other people. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, and then go to the next one. Then we have the freedom of the press. Okay, so the freedom of the press permits to express. So if you're a journalist, hey, you can say whatever, as long as remember you're exposing truth. So if you're in a newspaper, TV, internet, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, you can say whatever as long as it doesn't hurt people. Okay, and if you're saying, hey, no, the government is doing, I don't know, this, it's having some people hostage somewhere. Hey, as long as you're saying it credibly, hey, maybe you expose the government one day. Okay, you're holding them accountable. Okay, so people have to be well informed. Like when they're voting right now, you have to be really informed of what's going on. Okay, so this right also helps to keep government in check. So this is what I'm saying about the the press being like the watchdog. Okay, so they're checking on the government that they're not doing something illegal or that they're torturing people or things like that. Okay, so this is what the freedom of the press, it informs people about things that the government should or not should do, but what they are doing. Okay, so if you can see right here, I just put some cartoons. Okay, so I have this one right here. Let me put this right here. All right, so we have this one: fake news, BBC, the New York Times, and then CNN says, I thought the wall was for Mexico, not for the press. Okay, so do you think? Then this is Dr. Fauci with the coronavirus. And then this is about the socialism and things like that. Okay, I'll bet they'll like socialism now, right? So because they're bailing out someone, that they're giving away money. So do you think these pictures or these political cartoons are infringing in the rights? So do you think they can publish this, or do you think they're hurting someone, like maybe Trump? Okay, so pause the video and go ahead and write your response here. Then we have another one. Okay, so this is the freedom of assembly. Okay, that just means that you can protest the government if you don't like something. So in some countries, people cannot peacefully gather to protest government policies. So, for example, you can see right here. I'm gonna play the video right now in a second. But think just for a little bit. I go back to the example that I gave you about Miss Pineda charging in the gym or in the cafeteria just to go in. So if you're here in America, what you can do is, hey, get all your friends, all your other students. Let's say Mr. Moreno's first period, and then you go with, I don't know, Miss Gibbons' second period, and then you go with Mr. I don't know, the band director, and then you go with the art teacher, and then you go with all other students, and you go and protest Miss Pineda and say, hey, Miss Pineda, we don't like what you're doing with charging people. Okay, that you can do it because you're protesting peacefully. You're not gonna go and slap someone, right? If you do that, then it's not peaceful anymore. But as long as you are peaceful, you have the right to do this. Okay, so I'm gonna play a video just so you can see what happens in other countries. I think this is either Hong Kong. I think it's Hong Kong. It's in China, and you'll see the difference. Okay, so let me show you.
On a Hong Kong side
It's about
street,
2
the
minutes.
police were still chasing
Yeah, it's Hong
the
Kong.
protesters. The officers jumping out of vans to tackle whoever they could catch. In some cases, violently. Mayhem keeping its momentum.
All right,
It-
so you've seen enough, okay? But basically, this is what's going on. They start like cracking down on people, and then people are, well, they're gonna get angry if they're like physically harassing you, right? So they kick back, and so there's no need for that here in America, okay? We have freedom of of not the press. We have freedom of the assembly, and so we can go ahead and ask the government to change something. All right, so this is the other one. So these two kind of go together. So if you don't like something, you go and assemble with people, and you say to the government, we don't like this. So you can see a lot of different issues here: police, COVID, immigration, Black Lives Matter, and LGBT. So then what you do is, hey, I don't like whatever you're doing. So hey, I'm gonna go petition the government. So you just go collect signatures from other people. Like in the case of Miss Pineda again, you go to the cafeteria, and then you take a letter with all the students that don't like what you're doing or what Miss Pineda is doing, and you show it, hey, Miss Pineda, this is what other people think, okay? And so that's called a petition, okay? It's kind of like you want to pass a law that helps you, okay? So if there's a law or policy that citizens dislike, they can gather signatures, okay? So just think for a second, what would you petition the government? What would you ask the government to do? So think about it, pause the video, and then write your notes, okay? And the last slide on your notes, let's just recap real quick. This is the First Amendment, okay? So we talked about the First Amendment and the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. So Federalists are for a big, strong government, and they say, no, you don't need Bill of Rights, okay? The government already protects you because we have checks and balances. And then we have the Anti-Feds that say, no, 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 you need to include them because we had a king that was like basically doing the exact opposite, okay? They're violating our rights. And then so they happen, what happened is they come out, they made a deal where, okay, fine, we're gonna include them. And so we have 10 amendments. So for right now, you have the first. And again, this is the First Amendment: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of petition, freedom of assembly, okay? And so you should use this, okay? This is a right that you have. Okay, so let me stop this video right here. Okay, so then I have your exit ticket, okay? So there's this one. This is for my honors classes. Okay, so the first part is compare and contrast Federalist and Anti-Federalist. And I won't play this video just because it's part of your exit ticket, but you can just go ahead here and click it, okay? It's talking about both of them. All right, so we have the Federalists and we have the Anti-Federalists, okay? Then in your second slide, so based on what you read over here in this video right here, then you're gonna answer this question. So, which party would you be in? So, would you be in the Federalist or in the Anti-Federalist? So, this is a good video. Just watch the video and you should be okay. And then the last part of your exit ticket. So the first question, it says, which right of the First Amendment do you think are the most important? So remember, there's 5. But which one do you think is the most important of all 5 of them? Then why do you think we have the Bill of Rights? Okay, we just covered that. How do the Bill of Rights protect our citizens? And the last one, explain the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist in your own words. Okay, so I use a lot of terms that come from the Constitution, but change it to your own words. It shouldn't be that hard. Okay, and then the last one. This is for my regular classes. So again, you're gonna watch the video and you're gonna compare and contrast, okay? And once you're done with that, then you're gonna go over here. This is your exit ticket. So why do we have the Bill of Rights? And we have the choices. Choice A, because anti-federalists fear the government will abuse its power, because the king wanted the Bill of Rights, because George Washington thought it would be cool to have them, or none of the above, okay? And you can move this one, remember? So you just go ahead and put whatever answer you want, okay? And then answer the same questions. how do the Bill of Rights protect its citizens? And then there's two true or false questions. So the first one is the right to bear arms part of the First Amendment? Yes or no? Okay, or true or false. And the other one is, the Federalists oppose a strong central government, true or false? Okay, so go ahead, when you're finished with this video, you exit it out, and then you come here to your, or let me show you over here. You finish with your video and your notes, and then you can go ahead and do your exit tickets, okay? Again, this won't be posted in your classroom until I'm absent, okay? The substitute will open this for you so you can do them. All right, and then lastly, don't forget to work on your vocabulary. We always have vocabulary that is really important for you guys. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow, or if not, I have another video for you. So have fun with your lesson, okay?